November, December, January, February, March, April. 6 months ago, these dropped their leaves. They are Brazilian rain trees, and I keep them in a cold and fairly dark room for winter. So as soon as they go inside, I just let them go dry, and I only water them every 3-4 weeks. And just a little bit, just enough to keep them alive. Now, if I look at these branches, the tree is telling me it is time to wake up. So I watered them well this week, and you now can see the buds are popping. This is the time to repot tropicals that have dropped their leaves, but also if you have other tropicals that you're bringing outside, this is a good time. You can also wait another couple of weeks. First bring them outside, water them, let them get used to being outside, and then repot. Both will work quite well. So I'm going to pull these 2 out of the pot, plant them up, wire, and then let it grow and show you what happens during the growing season. 2 millimeters of aluminium, that should do the job. Light anchor at the base, and then just loop it all the way up, making sure not to disturb leaves or buds or anything like that. Easier said than done, because rain tree has horrible thorns. I'm going to tell you now already, this 2 millimeters is not going to do the job. Certainly on the lower trunk I'm going to need more than 2 millimeters. So I'll add a second wire to it. Now this is really opportunistic wiring. I have not really paid attention to where the wire exactly lands. This really is just for a rough shaping. I'm also not going to make any drastic bends, right? I'm just going to pay attention that there are some buds on the outside where I bend. But I'm not going to try to make very tight bends. I think you can, but maybe not in my climate, maybe not with this tree. And sometimes it's easier to just take it slow, and for the tight bends, use a side branch once this tree is a little bit more mature. Make sure that if you bend in all directions, back and forth, side to side, and in between, so that you get a lively movement in the trunk. I'm assuming that the lower trunk I'm not going to use, I'm just going to layer it at this point. And with that, this one is actually done for the season. Well, not done for the season, done for the time being. I'm first going to let it grow now, and then I'm going to air layer this off. And now I've got a nice comparison if I wire the other sacrifice and I repot the tree, to see whether that gives me a different end result. Who knows, this one might live and the other one might die. And of course, instead of making sharp bends in one go, you can just increase the tightness of your bends as the tree settles in, right? I really do want this to go up a little bit more, so that also the lower trunk later on has some movement. Now let's do the same to this one. Start off with some wire. And of course then here also putting in bends, without breaking the branches too much. Psst. Some people don't want you to know, but there's of course no reason for leaving the thorns on. You can also just clip the ends off. And with these wired out and bent, it is time to pull these 2 out of the pots and repot them. Do I really need to show you how to repot them? I don't think so, right? It's just a matter of taking them out of the pot, removing some of the old substrate, pruning back the roots, sorting them out so that they radiate away from the trunk, and then plant them back into the pot. And if you want to, for these with the long sacrifices, ideally you do, wire them into the pot. It is normal for a Brazilian rain tree to start losing the bark at some point. So this peeling bark is not something of concern. This is a natural process. This is all tissue that the tree is giving up in favor of new bark coming up underneath it. also responds to having quite a lot of humidity in here, but this is not something to be worried about. Quite nice. All these roots are not very healthy because it has been so long dry, and it will sprout new roots over the course of spring. It is better to keep it a little bit warmer, a little bit sunnier, then they come through winter a lot better looking than this. Do note, I am planting them quite deep. I want the roots to be covered with ½ inch, a centimeter of substrate. That way I get better root forming at the nebari and I have more to work with in the next season. Now this can go, I think I'll pop it in the greenhouse as well for another 3-4 weeks, and hopefully then nighttime frosts have passed and it can just go out in the free. Don't worry too much. Rain trees are a little bit like me, they like to complain. So I've now worked on them and it is complaining. It might actually drop all the leaves. Key then is to just keep watering it and wait. This ficus also was indoors for all winter in a cold room. Last week I watered it and now you can see here buds are starting to pop all along the trunk, but the leaves are still quite horrible. It will resprout quite strongly, but this is what a ficus will look like if you don't care for it properly in winter. This was called in a cold room, kept in a cold room, watered maybe 3-4 times over winter, sparingly. Yeah, this is what you get. Now it will start resprouting and will grow again in summer. Uh-oh. I know this looks really bad, but if we look closely, now we see young sprouts popping all the way along this trunk line. This repotted one is starting to push the buds. And the same for this one, although it's not clear yet what the wired out top branch is doing. Right, well, you look at that. Neither of these sacrifices has died after wiring them. Both of them are doing quite well. This one is actually doing exceptionally well. And I am going to layer them, but I don't think I'm going to do it in this video. I want to let this one fatten up a little bit more so that the lower branch here can develop more. And the same for the other one actually. This little one is just unhappy with me. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. It just is very slow in developing. It has very short internodes, very small leaves. It gets fertilized and watered just like the others. It's interesting, maybe from seed I've now grown another miniature. I don't know. I'll keep it for another couple of years and I'll see how it develops and see whether I can get it to grow healthily. Let me remove the wire from this and then you'll see that this indeed has completely set. See, no scarring whatsoever, but the trunk holds its shape. This is really ideal. I just need to make sure that I don't break anything and don't pull the tree out of the pot as I'm doing it. And with that, these are all ready to go back into the garden for summer. And I'll finish this video at the end of summer to show you how they've developed. I hope that there's going to be lots more growth on these, particularly this one in the big pot. Oh, one final little dead branch right there. And there. Well, it's the middle of September. You can see these plants have grown really well. Basically, all these branches are now way too long and I'll need to prune them back again before the trees go inside. But it's going to be another 2-3 weeks before it's time to move them in. So I'll leave this on for now. But as you see, these recover really well over the course of a growing season, even if they drop all their leaves in winter. Now this one, this is a seedling. It is still not growing really well, but you can see it has made some runners. But yeah, this will probably never grow really strongly. But these cuttings do really well. This was Jelle, growing bonsai with tropicals over the course of a growing season. See you next time and keep growing bonsai.